Hey there, this is Wakeangel2K1, and I did not buy this figure at Comic-Con. I bought it at the Target across from where I work at the day after Comic-Con. But, you know, it was just a little impulse buy, and I always thought that these characters looked really nice. So I went and picked up the Inkling Girl from Splatoon. Well, what can I say about Splatoon? I have never played Splatoon. It is not the general genre of game that I'm really into. I'm not really a big arena shooter type of person, nor do I do a lot of online gameplay at all, so, you know, that it's just not a game that I personally expect to get myself into. But I do like the character designs, I like the idea and concept behind it, and I was really happy to see Nintendo coming out with another IP. I really love Splatoon for just existing, and I'm really happy that it's actually built up a nice big fan base online. So, yeah, this is just like, say, Sly Cooper or Ratchet & Clank. It's a franchise that I never personally got into, but I can admire it from a distance and appreciate it as a genuinely good thing. The packaging is the same as most of the other World Nintendo figures. So you get a picture of the figure itself on the back, including the other figures from the wave that she was in. She was in the Bowser Jr. wave, which I do believe is the most recent one. The next one should have the Breath of the Wild version of Link, and the one that came before it had the Inkling Boy, which was blue. So let's take a look at the actual figure itself. So here is our cute little orange-headed Inkling with no accessories or anything, just straight out of the packaging. She kind of looks like like any other Inkling, she kind of looks like a 10-year-old with giant tentacle pigtails, which, well, I guess you wouldn't call these pigtails because they're not attached to the back of her head, but they're giant hair sideburns. She has her cute little domino mask looking face thing and a nice little smile. Although it looks a little bit like the paint for her lip doesn't quite match the sculpting. I'm not sure if that's intentional to make her lips look a little bit fuller, but whatever. I really only noticed it right now. There is a ball joint in her neck, but it's kind of restricted, so it works more or less as a swivel. Although you can get just a little bit of up and down from it. The rest of her articulation is actually really good. There is a universal shoulder joint with a lot of range, and she has universal elbow joints, so they can bend almost 90 degrees, and they rotate, and she has wrist swivels. And I gotta say, I'm really impressed. A figure this size with limbs this skinny, most toy companies would shy away from putting these kinds of joints in there for fear that they might break or bend too easily. So good on you, Jakks Pacific. I never expected a figure with an arm like this. It's almost like they're trying to prove that they can make Sonic the Hedgehog figures, because this is exactly the kind of physique that I would expect on a Sonic figure this size. Then she has a waist joint and universally jointed hips. They can go forward that much before the sculpt of her little long shirt stops it, and they can't go back too far. Not as far as Hera, unfortunately, because of the sculpt of the butt. But they can go out quite a ways because they are universal joints and not just swivels. You see, there's a full-on pin disc in there, and it's attached the right way with the pin going into the crotch rather than up into the body. So that's something that they have over Playmates. The knees also get almost 90, and this is one flaw. There's really nothing that stops the knee from going backwards. I mean, is it because as squid people, Inklings technically don't have bones, so there would be nothing to stop her knee from bending backwards? Is it just a limb-shaped tentacle that we just perceive as a leg? Is that what it is? And she has swivel joints in her sneakers, which, you know, that kind of looks cute. It's like she's wearing a big, giant shoe that's too big for her, and she doesn't have any socks. And lots of loving detail put on there. They put a little design on the tongue. They painted the shoelaces. They got the sides. There's design on the sole. Like, that is a really nicely made shoe. People who really like sneakers are probably gonna like this action figure, because that is a really realistic shoe they got going on there. She has, of course, her little ink tank and the Super Soaker looking ink gun. So let's, the ink tank pegs into this nice little upside down L-shaped hole on her back, just like so. And it's pretty secure in there, although the way it nestles in between these two hair points means that while it's on there, it's really hard to make her head articulate. I tried once, and this thing pushed the tank out and sent it flying. But if you force it, like if you hold this in physically, then you are able to bend to turn her head. It's a little bit awkward, but it's doable. The gun is perfectly sculpted to fit in her left hand, right hand, sorry, camera left, her right. And just like the hero figure I was talking about in the previous review, she has a trigger finger that's sculpted to go right into the trigger guard so she can hold the gun nice and securely. And they did not rig up like a hose or anything going into the pack, which is for the best, because now that just means that there's nothing to hold back her arm articulation. And I accidentally knocked this thing out. So yeah, it's pretty darn cool. And she's totally capable of doing that. And I even noticed that there is one thing that she can do with her articulation. Again, just gonna put that down for a bit. And that's because she has universal elbow joints and wrists and all the stuff, you can, and her left hand is did just right, you can actually do that. Yeah, like I said, this thing kind of looks like a Super Soaker with the pump action barrel. So you can actually have her hold her gun with two hands, which is really cool. So yes, that is a pretty fantastic little Inkling figure. And finally, here's a quick comparison showing the Inkling standing next to some other popular World and Nintendo figures. So she's a little bit taller than Toon Link, just a little tiny bit shorter than Star Fox, which seems about right for her. And of course, with her bigger feet, she's a lot easier to stand than Toon Link. But yes, she is quite the nice little thing. She scales pretty decently. I love the articulation, and I really hope that Jakks Pacific can keep this standard up, because I really do like this. No pre-assumed poses, no limits to the articulation because they feel that they might be too fragile otherwise. And her joints are nice and sturdy. Like when you put her in a pose, she stays that way. So no floppy joint situation. And everything is pretty good with her. So I would recommend the Inkling Girl. I'm pretty sure the Inkling Boy is pretty much exactly the same as this, except maybe the head is easier to turn because there's no giant tentacle sideburns. But yes, that is the story of the Inkling. This is Wakeangel2K1 signing off.